Well, hello, my Jedi friends, and welcome back. And today we're going to continue the conversation about anger. Are empaths doomed to be angry, folks? And this is really to follow up on the video that I recorded about anger a few days ago that seemed to get quite a lot of engagement, brought a lot of comments, had a lot of you talking. And rather than me go through all of them individually, I just thought I'd address some of the comments straight on, but looking at a big picture. And speaking of the big picture, that's me in the background. Back in the day when I had hair in Brazil, when I spent the whole day climbing a mountain, and this was me at the top. I almost lost my life that day. It was a treacherous climb, and very stupidly, doggedly continued to get to the top. So this is a very appropriate backdrop for what I'm going to talk about today, folks, because it's clear a lot of you have brought stuff up, and some of you have obviously made comments, not knowing my previous content as well. So today is to really bring context to this thing about anger. I'm going to talk about anger and the rite of passage. So what we covered on the other video is that if you're empathic, if you are sensitive to energy, if you're a good person, if you're dealing with family nonsense, if there's certain people in your circles that have been getting away with way too much for too long, frequent offenders, people that violate your boundaries, people that get drunk and say mean things, alcohol, well, that's an interesting thing. That's almost a separate video, folks. But at the camp family gathering, we all know them. We've got family members. Now, alcohol, let's talk about that as far as a catalyst for anger. In my experience, there's two types of drunks. There's the happy drunk and the angry drunk. And in my opinion, the angry drunk should never drink. They should never drink. And we had one of those in our family, and the angry drunk has no place. And there's no reasoning with the angry drunk. They're just angry and they're drunk. So we talked about calling out bad behavior, and obviously people were bringing other context to it. So I pretty much said that as an empath, that anger is your friend. Anger's your friend because if you're feeling angry and you're generally a good person, then that is an indicator that people have pressed your boundaries to the limit that you should deal with it head on. You should deal with it head on, folks, or you should walk away permanently. And that includes family members. I'm going to throw that out there. Of course, some of you are saying, but I have to spend time with my family. I have to do blah, 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 blah. Well, whether you do or don't, that's a separate debate for another day. I mean, I had to deal with them in my younger years. In my older years, I don't. So I select who I spend time with within my family and who I don't. And if I come across paths of people that I'm not interested in, I just don't talk to them. I practice discernment and I just disengaged because the problem that you've got, folks, is that some people are narcissistic personalities. Some people, it doesn't matter what you say to them, they get their energy from watching you struggle and being able to press your buttons. And simply ignoring them is often the best bet. Often the best bet, especially if you're dealing with a narcissist. That's a separate video. But other issues that were brought up, I mean, some people told me that addressing this at work is not a good idea and that should be cautioned. Well, folks, let's bring context to this. We talked about we talked about empaths rather than internalizing anger, which is what most of us do really well, to give it back or to deal with the situation. And some of you said, well, that's all very well and good, but you shouldn't really do that at work because you might need the job, you might need the money, might not be appropriate. So I also discussed being able to deal with stuff calmly. So dealing with anger when you're triggered, well, the only time that that's a good idea is if somebody has done this frequently and suddenly you've reached your limit. Maybe they've done it hundreds of times in the past and you finally decide to fight fire with fire. It's a zero-win game, folks. You give people a taste of their own medicine, but in exactly the same way as the school bully. If the school bully's coming up to you, and I realize this is something that's probably more exclusive to my generation when school bullying was a big thing and fights in the playground was an almost a daily occurrence, that the only way you stop the school bully is to fight back. And you might not always win, but the school bully will always go for the easy target. So even you only have to hit them once and you might take a beating when you do it, but it will get them to think twice about doing it again. And it's the same being an empathic person, telling yourself that anger is a good thing, that it's your job to deal with it, it's your job to internalize it. I'm going to say that it's not, folks, not ever. Not ever is it good to internalize anger because it will represent down the line. If you let stuff go, if you let your boundaries be encroached, then that's a bad thing. And let's take the work situation. Let's look at that. So you might say, well, I need my job. So if somebody's pissing me off regularly, responding or doing the stuff that you said about dealing with it face on is not a good thing because you might lose your job. Well, folks, what I'm going to argue is if you're in a long-term job where there's somebody that continues to push your boundaries, you continue to take it, you continue not to push back, you continue to internalize it, and you continue to take this stuff home, I'm going to tell you that you are a cancer case or a heart attack or a stroke waiting to happen. Waiting to happen, folks. That if you're not prepared to deal with a bullying boss, a bullying supervisor, a bullying colleague, if you're not prepared to at least call out their nonsense or to report it or to do something about it, then it's not going to get any better. What you're doing by saying nothing is validating their reality and giving them the context to just keep coming back, showing that you're the easy target. Easy target lies here. Come and have another go. Yes, you are the ground where the dogs go and have their and do their business, folks. That is it. You're saying, look, easy target. Here I am. I'm going to tell you, folks, that obviously I've talked at length about dealing with anger and dealing with these responses. And what I will always usually tell you is that walking away is your best bet. Certainly cooling down, cooling down. But I want to give context to my last video. We've talked about this, talked about these things at length on the channel, how to deal with it well. And what I've talked about in the last video is the nuclear option. This is for the person that you've done all of this. You've walked away. They still keep finding the way back. They still keep getting away with it. Might be somebody in the family. You call out their bullshit, folks. And if you've tried every other method, which if you're dealing with a narcissist, it doesn't matter how good you are at dealing with this stuff, they'll still come back. They'll still press your buttons. They'll still keep going. They'll still be like a dog with a bone. They just won't go anywhere, folks. They won't go anywhere. It's your job to take that face on and to deal with it. And you might need to get angry back with them. If this is a work situation, if this is on the street, if this is in the pub, no, 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 no. Lunatics with mental health option or mental health issues, sometimes with knives or guns, exist in that domain, folks. And I will always tell you just to get out. Always get out. The specific video is for people in your family or your close network, or even at work. I would go as far to say with that, of you sucking it up all the time and that not being good for you. That feeling angry is a message. It's a message. Deal with this or die. And you might think, oh, Adam, that's you being very extreme. Well, let me tell you, stress is a killer. Daily stress will kill you because it's unnatural. It will mess up your sleep patterns. It will mess up your cholesterol levels. It will mess up your circulation. It will mess up your diet. It will mess up your sleep. And when all of this starts to go over a long period of time, that causes serious dis-ease, folks, and will lead to an early death. It will lead to your blood pressure going up because you're stressed all the time. It will lead to you getting things like diabetes, which is advanced stage stuff. And then you might get little stabbing pains in your chest because you're stressed all the time. You're allowing people to stress you. You're allowing people to violate your boundaries. So if you don't address the long-term issues, the long-term frequent flyers, the regular offenders of things that cause you anger or distress or any other emotion that you perceive as negative, if you don't address it head on, folks, it's going nowhere. It won't resolve itself. You have to resolve it. It is a message. It is a message, my Jedi friends. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more context on what we're talking about, that anger is the ally to an empath. But you have to get the message, folks. And some of you even talked about internalizing it and sending love and peacefully resolving it inside. Great, folks. If you can do that, that's great. But, and this is massive, if you then go back and allow the same behavior to repeat itself, so you're constantly having to do that, then that will cause dis-ease internally. It's not healthy. It is not good. It is not good. Failing to deal with the issue, failing to call out bad behavior, failing to do what needs to be done to stop the bullshit at its source or walk away, that is the enemy of well-being. And if you're constantly allowing people to violate your boundaries, to violate your good nature, and to violate your capacity to not do anything about it because you think that you're working in the greater good, then that's on you, folks, because we teach people how to treat us. We teach people how to treat us, which is why anger's your friend, and dealing with the anger is where it's at. Either walking away, that is the best option, or if you can't walk away, to call it out, folks. Call it out. And that would be a little summary of some of the comments. No doubt there'll be more comments. If you're finding this for the first time, you might want to look at the previous video so you've got some context. I'll give you the context. I said that anger is your friend. There you go. And if you want more of the pieces of the jigsaw, if you want more help, if you want me to be looking at the big picture of things to build videos around your comments and the stuff that you need to deal with and give you pieces of the jigsaw how to feel better and have a better life, folks. And you're not already, then please like and subscribe to the video. And if you're looking for another piece of the jigsaw, that's there. But either way, my Jedi friends, you will go out, you will love anger, and you will deal with it at the source, because if you don't, it will kill you early. And if you do, you will feel much better for it, folks. Much better.